to Representative Tim Kennedy. He's a Democrat from New York's 26th District and a member of the Homeland Security Committee. Representative Kennedy, welcome to the program.
Good morning, Mimi. Happy to be here.
As I said, you do serve on the Homeland Security Committee. In a statement on Los Angeles earlier this week, you referred to President Trump as, quote, a tyrannical president. What do you mean by that?
Well, what President Trump has done and the congressional Republicans have allowed is a total disaster taking place across this country when it pertains to our broken immigration system. We're seeing that play out in real time. The militarization of our cities by this president, and the House Republicans and the Senate Republicans are rolling over, playing dead, and allowing this president to do whatever he wants unchecked. Article 1 of the Constitution created Congress to prevent tyranny, to keep the executive in check. And if these House Republicans and Senate Republicans aren't doing their job, that is the result, a tyrannical administration. This president is running roughshod over the Constitution. He's creating a chaos across this country in every regard. The economy is tanking. And in so many ways, what they're actually trying to do, Mimi, is create distractions to what they're putting forward in the House and Senate budget, which is cuts to Medicaid that will hurt Americans, cuts to Medicare that will hurt Americans, a gutting of the exchange for the Affordable Care Act that will put 16 million Americans off of health insurance, a massive cut to the nutritional assistance programs that will cause our children and seniors and veterans to go hungry across this country and hurt our farmers. And ultimately, they're doing this in the dark of night in so many ways, putting meetings forward, the Rules Committee meeting that started at 1 in the morning, and a marathon meeting that ended at 6 in the morning while Americans were sleeping. And ultimately, what they're doing right now, this president perpetrating a distraction, a massive distraction to the chaos of the economy and the chaos of the budget bill that they're ramming down Americans' throats.
Congressman Kennedy, is the Democratic strategy then to refocus on the reconciliation bill? Because President Trump has said that the National Guard will stay in Los Angeles until there is, quote, no danger. Secretary Hegseth has said that the Marines and National Guard will stay at least 60 days. So what's your strategy there?
Yeah, look at what the President of the United States and his administration are doing is unprecedented. They are superseding the local community, the state community. They are heavy-handed going in to states across this country, and they are militarizing our communities. And they are inciting chaos and dysfunction and using that as a distraction to ram billions and billions of dollars of cuts to Medicaid, Medicare, and health insurance to everyday Americans. This is an attack on everyday Americans in the budget here in Washington, D.C. What they're doing is gutting Medicaid, hurting those that we depend upon, nursing homes and hospitals that will close across America, particularly in rural America. People will go hungry, farmers will be hurt, cities will be hurt, urban, rural, suburban, all because this president has continued to deliver upon his complete and utter disorganized, chaotic administrative goals, and it's all a distraction that is hurting everyday Americans.
The Wall Street Journal has this headline which says that Trump bets sending in the troops is a political winner and civil unrest allows the president to portray Democrats as weak on crime. How would you respond to that? That this does show Democrats that they're not able to handle criminal behavior?
Well, first and foremost, I reject the premise. We have called for peaceful protests across this country. Our country's greatest moments in history have been led by peaceful protests. You take the civil rights movement, for instance, and Martin Luther King and the late, great John Lewis that marched for civil rights in this country in a peaceful way and rejected violence at all turns. That's what we as a Democratic Party and as Americans are doing. Exercise our right to free speech and do it peacefully. At the same time, we need to challenge and be very vocal to the real concerns and the chaos and the dysfunction that this administration is perpetrating upon the American public. And they're doing it in order, again, very clearly here, to distract the American people from their real goal, and that is to gut Medicaid, gut Medicare, and kick people off of health insurance that has been given to them. 16 million people will be kicked off of health insurance. That means increased wait times to the tune of 12 hours again, the bad old days at the emergency rooms. That means insurance premiums going up and deductibles and copays for everyday Americans. You know, they've done nothing to resolve the issues of immigration reform. They've done nothing to find solutions for immigration reform. You know, at the end of the day, the immigration system is broken. That is something we can all agree upon. This administration has done absolutely nothing to fix it. And they promised they would fix it, they haven't done it. And what they have done instead is they are working to gut the services that American people depend upon, our children, working families, our seniors, our veterans that we're fighting for each and every day. They're going to hurt those people.
So,
and they're all doing it to give a tax break to the billionaires in this country.
Congressman, most people agree that the entitlements, Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security is not sustainable, the amount of spending going into there. So what would you suggest and what's your plan to fix those?
Yeah, thank you, Mimi. Look, we are the richest country in the history of the world. And it's how we look at that spending and that budget. And we have the resources to take care and provide for all Americans, especially working families, and those that are trying to live the American dream, and those that are trying to raise themselves up by their bootstraps. And we've got to have a budget that reflects those priorities. What this Republican budget does, that's being contemplated by the U.S. Senate right now, that the House Republicans sent to them 2 weeks ago, gives billionaires a tax break, and it guts Medicaid to the tune of nearly $1 trillion, over $700 billion in cuts to Medicaid. Now the Congressional Budget Office is saying over $500 billion in cuts to Medicare. And while they're doing that, they're kicking 16 million people off of health insurance, the Affordable Care Act, the Promise to America, one of the most popular programs in the history of America, at least since the creation of Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid itself. And while they're doing that, they're cutting SNAP benefits, nutritional assistance. That means children and seniors and veterans go hungry, and farmers that are feeding the hungry in this nation lose out as well. So everyone loses in this country under this Republican majority plan, except for the billionaires in this country. This is the largest redistribution of wealth in American history, where the rich get richer. As a matter of fact, the richest in America get richer, and the poorest in America get poorer. That is not the American dream. That is Trump's American nightmare, and that is why we are rejecting the premise that that is good for America, and we have to get away from the distractions that the Trump administration and the House and Senate Republicans are perpetrating on America, and get back to the economy, get back to middle-class America, get back to the issues that are important to the pocketbooks of working families, and ensure that the American dream is realized for those that seek to attain it.
And Congressman, you mentioned that the immigration system is broken and that the Trump administration has done nothing to fix it. He has closed the border effectively, which the Biden administration was not able to do. How would you respond to that?
Well, recall that the solution at the border that they are now claiming credit for began under the Biden administration. And just recently, the Homeland Security Committee that I sit on went to the Mexican border. We were at the San Diego-Tijuana border. We met with the U.S. Border Patrol. We met with the Customs and Border Protection, and they said themselves over the last 2 years they have seen a significant decline, quite frankly, a historical decline in the amount of illegal crossings. And so that began under the previous administration. You know, everybody's going to take credit. That's Washington politics. But the bottom line is, when you're talking about legal immigration and giving people an opportunity to come to this country, the promise of America is that people from across this world that want to seek a better life and seek the American dream and want to come here legally are able to do so, that seek refuge from oppression, from war-torn nations. Right now, this administration is deporting those people. They're finding them, people with temporary protective status, people with green cards, even U.S. citizens and children. You can't make this stuff up. U.S. children, citizens with cancer, that this administration is working to deport. This is just extraordinarily difficult to hear and even think about, but it is Trump's America, where he's hurting everyday citizens and he is ruining the promise of America in real time. That is why we are seeing protests across this country, people that are just so upset that they have to voice their opinion, and they're going out and they're doing so, and we call on those folks to do so peacefully. It is the important part of the process so that we can all be heard and that we can have a real effective way of communicating the concerns to this administration and to those that currently hold the gavel. And then, you know what we need to do? We need to take those gavels back next November. We have to get people out to vote and exercise their right to vote and ensure that their voices are heard at the ballot box.
All right, Representative Tim Kennedy, a Democrat of New York, member of the Homeland Security Committee. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Have a great day.